Some of the demonstrations that we've seen recently over trans rights and the issue around Scotland and what Rishi Sunak is doing reminds me of the anger that there was in 1988 over Section 28. And it was because people felt that their very existence was being challenged, as if they shouldn't exist, as if they couldn't be who they wanted to be.
I'm Nicola Field. I was very active in the LGBTQ movement in the 1980s in South London. I was a member of Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners. Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners, or LGSM, was set up to support miners who'd gone on strike in 1984 against the shutdown of the pit industry.
Well, I'm Noel Halifax, and I've been involved with gay politics since the 70s, since GLF. In fact, I think some people view me as a sort of living fossil, so it actually dates back way back to the start of the gay movement. I want to start by saying that East London does have a tradition in the gay movement, because in about 1973, GLF, people often say it collapsed. It didn't collapse so much as it spread out to do other things. And so some went off to form Gays the Word Bookshop, Gay Switchboard, to build up these support groups, alternative gay scene to the commercial scene. And also in those days there was the idea of commune, setting up non-family living spaces.
And there were many communities under attack in Thatcher's Britain. And certainly LGBTQ people were under intense persecution. You could get sacked, you could lose your home, you could lose the right to bring up your children.
And that was very much the atmosphere in the late 1980s, with the attacks in the press and the attacks on LGBT plus people over HIV and AIDS. And when Section 28 came into existence, it felt like they were saying that we shouldn't exist, and it felt like they wanted us to die. It really did feel like that.
And so when the miners went on strike and Thatcher declared war on that group of workers, there was a real sense in the country that, you took sides. You were either on the side of the people under attack or you were defending the Tory government. During that period, all that solidarity, all that support, all those people travelling all over the country to join picket lines, to make collections, to take supplies, it created an incredible hotbed of debate, hotbed of discussing how people were under attack, issues of oppression, making links and connections between different struggles.
And the fact of, we build those links right from the East London Gay Centre. The links have been, we've been in the air for so many years. We were known as fighting the fascists and defending minority groups, be they black or Muslim, whatever, from such things. So that enabled us for them to come on board supporting gays when they're attacked. With East London Gay Centre in Whitechapel. And initially it'd been attacked a lot because the NF was very strong in that area. Because initially went along there to protect it from physically attacks and stuff. And also, it was a commune of about 20, 30 people there, and they became very involved because of the anti-Nazi League and stuff. And in fact, in the end, in 1977, the commune voted en masse to join the SWP.
And it was socialists who really understood the connection between the power of class struggle, the power of the organised working class, and the needs of our class in terms of equality. The biggest weapon that the ruling class have got is divide and rule against us.
So in about 2013, there were some stickers started to appear around Tower Hamlets. And the background to this is that at the time, the mayor of Tower Hamlets, traditionally it's always Labour Party, broke away from the Labour Party. And so the Evening Standard did these scare stories about how Islamicists had taken over the local mosque and that the mayor was part of this radicalisation.
And it was as a result of that class struggle, the miners' strike, that, as the film Pride showed, we had huge steps forward in terms of the trade union movement moving forward on oppression issues. And new bonds of solidarity were born across the country between city and country, black and white, gay and straight. Issues of misogyny and sexism were debated as well.
Why did that happen? And I think it's important to understand the role of unions in that, because between 1986 and all the way through the 90s, every union started to change. They started to have LGBT plus people represented in the unions. They started to have policies that were pro-LGBT plus, and there was a whole sea change really of attitudes within the unions that made a difference.
The 80s were an enormous lesson in the power of class struggle, and the fact that real solid change and the fight against oppression, the power in the fight against oppression comes from winning workers to understand the connection between exploitation and oppression.
These stickers started posing Tower Hamlets is a gay-free area. So in response to that homophobic attack, one old friend of mine, Terry, who I knew back from GLF days, he started a campaign against this homophobic sticker attack. So he called a meeting and contacted me and invited the SWP along to the launch of this meeting. And that was to have an East London pride to the East London Mosque, in fact, under the slogan, no to homophobia, no to Islamophobia. So all the myths about the Muslims were prejudiced against gays, which is not true. And they're quite willing to enter United Front. So I think that's a piece of history that we should remember.
I think one of the things that we need to think about is how have things changed, really. And I think the first thing to say about that is that in 1988, in the British social attitudes, something like 14% agreed that gay people were acceptable in some way. By 2016, that had turned around massively to something like 60% plus of people who thought gay people were acceptable. And so the strikes that are happening now are really a very big chance for us to link together the struggles about oppression and about the social system we live in. And in order to change that, we have to change that system. And when we change that system, we can actually create a world without oppression and start to work towards a world we all feel happy to be who we want to be within it.